It's tabletop time. I'm Dave.
I'm Jen.
And over the last few weeks, we have been making a wonderful little medieval watermill. And this will be used in our upcoming battle report for our Age of Sigmar narrative campaign. It's been a bit of a group project. Jen and I have been working on it while streaming to our patrons in the private mini club. And we've been really enjoying the process. And we thought we'd share with you today what will become the centerpiece of that Age of Sigmar board.
So the watermill was the winning vote on our Patreon poll. We found a file online and printed it all in-house and got ready to paint.
Now knowing that we have to build a battle centered around a watermill, that's what today's video is about. Building that centerpiece for that table so Jazza and I can dive in and do a massive board build just like our previous one.
So make sure you're subscribed so you can catch those videos when they come out. So we've got some really big plans for this project and we're very excited to get started. So let's dive into it.
I found a file for the watermill on printable scenery that would be suitable for our game board, and I got to work downloading and printing it. We've had time to dial in the settings on our 3D printer, so it was super easy to clean up these models with minimal prep required. I approached painting the stone areas of this model by spray painting the bottom part of them black, choosing a darker undertone to help sell the extra wear and tear, but also the water and mildew and mold that would build up from being constantly at the waterline.
Once Dave had finished spray painting the building, it was time to start dry brushing. We started from the top, working down, trying to make it the lightest point, the top of the building. Afterwards, we picked out some bricks in different colors that were blue, light gray, and orange.
Now these individual bricks need a little bit of attention with a specific line highlight. So I got to work with a brush and highlighted up those bricks to match the dry brushed surface of the other bricks. That's a lot of bricks in one sentence.
While Dave was doing that, I moved on to the wood parts of the building, going around in a nice, beautiful brown color just to really make it stand out. This building came in pieces, which meant that I could work on a piece and Dave could work on a piece at the same time.
This was really helpful for getting the project done, as it also stopped any kind of boredom between steps. When I was sick of base coating, I could swap with Jen and she could dry brush or base coat and I could go into line highlighting, which kept the painting process very fresh.
It was also nice to have someone to talk to and hang out with while you're painting something pretty tedious.
And it wasn't just Jen that I was talking to and hanging out with, we were also hanging out with our patrons. That's right, both painting sessions that we did while working on this model were done with a stream going for our patrons exclusively over at our mini club. If you're interested in checking that out, make sure to join our Patreon today. With all the pieces printed, we could start to see how the building would look stacked on top of each other, but there were plenty of new elements to paint in the upper floors. The largest of these being the timber frame and the visible render or plaster that is common on this kind of medieval building. This meant that from the foundation, I had to change the way that I base coated it. So I actually primed this from beneath with a bone color and then from a sort of 2/3 up angle from a white down. There are a lot of parts of this model where the render has chipped away and revealed the stone brickwork beneath. So these areas we had to come through and replicate the color as best we could. Now, unfortunately, for those keen-eyed, we didn't actually have a Mechanicus standard gray on hand. Well, that is to say, the spray can is a different color to the pot of paint. I don't know, Games Workshop, maybe have a look at that. The Mechanicus standard gray out of the can is like green compared to the gray from the pot. But we tried to do what we can to match them, and on a weathered building like this, it doesn't really matter at the end. They just look like the natural variants that might be found in stone.
There was a few more timber spots on the model that needed to be painted and a bit of dry brushing on top, just to really give it that finished look.
There are a lot of wooden elements on this model that weren't the framework of the building, such as the watermill and the interior doors. I chose to spray paint these. I've been really enjoying the effect that I've been getting by hitting from different angles with different cans of spray paint, especially for natural, heavily textured surfaces like 3D printed wood. It's worth mentioning that I didn't want to put more into the water wheel at this point because that's a point that we're very likely to weather up and add some gunk to, river weed, etc. throughout the course of building the table.
Finally, it was time to add the roof, and we weren't sure what color to pick, so we asked Jazza for some advice. He suggested a beautiful terracotta color, which worked fantastic. It looks so good.
Now with Jen having base coated the terracotta tiles on the roof, I came in with some extra effects. I used Vallejo's Rain Marks. It's an environment paint that I pretty much just slathered all over the roof. This isn't traditionally what rain marks are meant for, but I knew it would work. I just had the feeling, so I just went with it, and I was quite happy to see the results. But to add a little bit more texture to that, I used the Environment Mud and Grass and Crushed Grass to stick some squelchy piles of dirt and weed on the roof. And with the weathering on the roof done, I pulled out my new trusty favorite, weathering pigments. I absolutely adore the way that these spread naturally and the way that they dry as if it's a dry surface. It's a textural thing that takes a long time to achieve with a paintbrush, but a very short space of time to achieve with pigments. I used these effects liberally all over the render around the sides of the building. I really think this helped give the building the natural age that it needed. There are elements of the render that had chipped away and broken, revealing the bricks beneath. And that shows to me a level of disuse or disrepair to this watermill that suggests it should look aged and it should look weathered.
Here's the finished building. How cool does it look? I really love the roof and the little details it has, like the mill.
I can't wait to see how this is integrated into the board and how we use some resin, water effects, and weathering around that waterline. Get the tide marks going, the mildew growing, all those sorts of things will look really cool.
Absolutely. I can totally see the environment that this is going to live in without it actually being in it.
I cannot wait to protect this mill from Jazz's horrible cruel boys with my Twilight Sentinels, and a sneak peek for a video upcoming, some mortal men of the Free Guild Guard. That's right, the people who live in these towns aren't just gonna let the orcs run rampant over them without defending them themselves.
So thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video.
And thank you to our patrons,
Yay!
who are presently rolling across the screen like a cart, bumbling across the cobblestones of the path that leads to our beautiful watermill. Picture it in your head, sublime, wonderful, like the holiday none of us can have right now.